Quick question. If you're a service company trying to win work in Indonesia's upstream oil and gas sector, do you know the regulation that governs every single procurement decision your potential client is required to follow? If the answer is no, you're not fully prepared to compete in this market. The regulation is PTK 007 Revision 5. And let's break it down. I'm Tommy Jamail, 30 years in Indonesia's energy sector. This is video 6 of Indonesia Energy Explained. We've covered the regulatory structure of the contract frameworks. Today, we're going to shift this to the commercial layer, specifically how business actually gets done at the procurement level in Indonesia's upstream sector. This one is for service companies, vendors, suppliers, and honestly, anyone who wants to understand how money moves in this industry. Let's start with why PTK 007 exists. This is actually one of my favorite topics to discuss, and I may look at doing a longer deep dive in the future. Indonesia's upstream sector involves billions of dollars in annual procurement. Every K3S, every contractor under a PSC is spending significant capital on services, equipment, and materials. Drilling services, engineering, fabrication, logistics, inspection, maintenance, the list goes on. Without a standardized framework, that spending is inconsistent, it's hard to audit, and it's vulnerable. So the government built one. PTK 007 is SKK Migas's procurement regulation. It's kind of like the rule book that every K3S must follow when sourcing goods and services for their upstream operations in Indonesia. Revision 5 is the most current version. These regulations evolve, the government refines the approach, responds to industry feedback, aligns with national policy shifts. Staying current on which revision is enforced is just part of doing business here. So you ask, what does PTK 007 actually govern? Well, it's how tenders are structured, how vendors get qualified, how contracts are awarded, and how compliance gets monitored. The whole procurement process, from the moment a K3S decides it needs something to the moment that a contract is signed, runs through this whole regulation. And here's the part that matters the most for service companies. Vendor registration and qualification under PTK 007 is not a formality. K3Ss are required to procure from registered qualified vendors. If your company is not in the system, you are not in the running. That's not a technicality, that's the entry requirement. Now, for local Indonesian companies, PTK 007 is actually a significant opportunity. The regulation includes provisions that prioritize Indonesian goods and services where they're available and competitive. This connects directly to TKDN, or also known as local content, which we'll also cover in the next video. The two are very closely linked. For foreign companies, PTK 007 sets clear rules around how you participate in Indonesia's upstream supply chain. You can compete for work, but the framework is designed to encourage local participation. Understanding how you position your company, whether that's through a local partnership, a JV, a joint venture, or direct qualification, it requires a solid grasp of what this regulation actually requires. One more thing worth emphasizing. The procurement environment that you're operating in is not purely commercial. It is regulated. The K3S that you're selling to is accountable to SKK Migas for how they procure. So basically what that says is they can't just go and purchase overseas themselves. And so that shapes everything, how tenders are structured, how disputes are handled, and what documentation is required. This isn't just a concern for commercial teams. Engineers, project managers, business development, everyone working in the supply chain operates within this framework every single day. PTK 007 Revision 5, the procurement rulebook for Indonesia's upstream sector. Billions of dollars in annual activity governed by this one regulation. If you're in the supply chain or trying to get into it, this is the required reading that you need to look at. Everything in this series is based on publicly available Indonesian government rules and regulations. This is not tax advice, nor is it investment advice. And if you found that this was useful, do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe, and stay with me. If you have any further inquiries, you can also email me at tommy@ Jamail.id, Jamail.id. Next up, TKDN, Indonesia's local content requirement. What it is, how it's calculated, and why getting it wrong cost you deals. See you there, and thank you again for watching.